Meet Joe Black is one of the strangest, inconspicuous films to come out of the 90s. I consider it to include some of the most beautiful, heartfelt scenes I've ever seen on screen. But I can easily see how others can be put off by its oddities. Most might only recognize it from a 5-second clip you've seen. I had it spoiled on from early on. I won't go into it in case anyone hasn't seen it. The film centers around death. Yes, capital D, death. Death goes into the body of one Brad Pitt. He walks around in his shoes, helping Anthony Hopkins make wrong things right before his time on Earth comes to a close. It is directed by Martin Brest. Mr. Brest has done notable films such as Beverly Hills Cop, Scent of a Woman, and Jiggly. The film has a nicely stacked cast, including Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins, Claire Filoni, and some Jeffrey Tambor. The cinematography is by Emmanuel Lubezki, who is now most well known for winning 3 Academy Awards in a row. And a wonderful score by Thomas Newman to top it all off. It has the makings of a classic, but I don't think it has that status. So I'm here to simply shed some light on Meet Joe Black. So the premise alone is absolutely crazy. The absurd scenes are done in such a way that it all comes off sincere. Mr. Pitt is dedicated to being an alien inside of his body, and Hopkins has a pretty nice character journey. Even though it's dangerously close to making me cringe, it never does. Yeah, okay, maybe it does. But I accept it for whatever reason. Probably because of this.
Do you fancy it, sir? More? What? Peanut butter man now, eh, sir?
Yes.
The film has a significant spiritual and fantastical element about it, which that may strike a good or bad chord. You never see the fantasy elements, they are just sort of there. They don't necessarily fit the makeup of the world, and it can be hard to buy into it. If you can get past that, you still have to get past this next hurdle. This thing is long. It's nearly 3 hours.
So what are you doing here, Joe? Cat got your tongue? You weren't so silent this morning.
This morning, yes. I wasn't quite myself.
Scenes go on much longer than in normal films. And in an ordinary case, you would cut the crap out of this film. But I think that would change the film completely. One of the things I love about this film is it feels very well fleshed out. Yes, because of the runtime, but also Mr. Brest knew he didn't need to rush things. He was able to focus much more intimately on what was important. Hopkins' character has 2 daughters, Susan and Allison. While Susan is the more prevalent character, Allison never got dealt a short hand, because there was ample time to flesh out her relationship with her father. Hopkins has a lot of lengthy business transactions which run into the theme as well, and I'd go as far to say that this film is run by theme over anything else. There are a few other films that do or do not work because their theme is the most prevalent item about them. Last Jedi. The film takes its bloody well brilliant time. Death and Susan's relationship is perfectly built upon. While I think the film is mostly about Anthony Hopkins, I couldn't help but connect with Brad Pitt mostly. I mean, he's playing death, but it's not what you expect. Here, Death is just a strange little man who doesn't know what he's doing among others. He himself knows his place on this earth, but walking around amongst other people, building positive relationships and falling in love.
I just don't get it. I don't. You, my father, here in this house, it's upsetting me, and what happened to that sweet guy from the coffee shop? Who are you, anyway? And what are you eating?
Peanut butter.
Okay. I'd rather you watch and discover this on your own. I am only here to tease, which is exactly what happens throughout this film. Susan and Death have my favorite scenes in the film, but they are much better viewed through context. I implore you to find this film because holy God did it make me feel. Lastly, I want to close with figuring out the theme. Obviously, it has to do with death and coming to terms with your life before you die. It's an interesting point where Hopkins knows death is coming, down to the very time. So what's it like when you don't have a heads up? Why did Death choose Hopkins out of everyone in the world to try to better himself before he passes on? The man bathes in wealth and riches. He cares only about his work, making money. His character journey is finding his morality again, what matters to him most. So let's humor the idea that Anthony Hopkins' character is the epitome of American wealth. He represents what the generic person wants: a big house, big company, lots of money, a beautiful family. But the house is cold and empty. His company players go against him. He spends time with his family, but he doesn't care about them. Death is the highest stakes you can have in your story because it's the highest stakes in real life. In a way, he's got a ticking clock to make things right. But what does that even mean? I'll give Hopkins the benefit of the doubt and say he is self-aware in this case. Finding genuine compassion will be harder. He has to take his time and listen to his family. He simply needs to care more, which is not an easy task.
I don't want anything more. "65 years. Don't they go by in a blink?"
For in the end, departure will be hard. But it will bring you peace knowing you gave all the love that you could possibly give. Thank you all for watching my first video essay. Meet Joe Black is a bit of an oddball, and I haven't seen a lot of love for it, so I went out of my way to create this. I am an avid Letterboxd user, which my profile is in the description. If you haven't heard of Letterboxd and love movies, then you need to get on this app. It's a social media app for films where you can log and review movies, follow other users, and many other functions. It's something I desperately needed years ago, and when I found it, my life really hasn't been the same. It's definitely my most used app on my phone. Anyway, this has been Andrew. See you next time.